of La Penta. This is WICR.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe Artino back in studio with Ian Sachs. Ian, Big Shot Rob, I guess, was a little too busy for us today, so we're going to hold it down today, though. But, Ian, we're going to start the hashtag, where is Big Shot Rob?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to start off with. And, we can use that now because Big Shot Rob is on Twitter. What do you know?
Oh, my goodness.
Joe,
he has not tweeted yet, Ian.
No.
Not one tweet.
With me, when I first got a Twitter, I said to myself, I can't have no tweets.
Absolutely.
So right away, I said, you know what? Finally, on the Twitter world, well, you know what? Rob, nearly 3 years after it took me to get a Twitter, finally joining the Twitterverse, and Chelsea Taylor-Harris sending out that tweet in the back. Thank you very much, Chelsea. You're producing the show right now.
Absolutely.
And excellent job there. But yeah, Rob, he's probably at a family function.
Yeah, I think another. For people who don't know, Rob's family is very distinguished. They get honored at dinners like every night, basically.
Yeah, you ask Rob to do something, it's this family event or that family event.
I got a baseball dinner. I got a curling dinner. I'm being honored at a Eskimo dinner. Everybody loves. How could you not? He's Big Shot Rob, Ian.
Exactly. Follow him, Big Shot RMB. On Twitter, he needs to get double-digit followers.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe so. That I remember when I was at that stage, I had 3 tweets, about 4 followers, and I was following about 1,000 people by that point. But I have 1,600 following right now. But yeah, Rob, he's probably off doing something that we can joke about.
He's probably making big shots somewhere. And speaking of big shots, Ian, you know who else makes big shots?
Who, Joe?
Stephen Curry. I don't know if people have heard, but last night the guy kind of went off. The Warriors were down 20 points, and they rallied a comeback in overtime. Stephen Curry hits the tying shot at the end of the game, contested. Ian, when I watch Steph Curry now, basically when he puts up a 3, I kind of just expect it to go in. Honestly, I just expect it to go in.
The guy is on fire. And, Joe, you said he went off last night. But when you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, he's been going off all year.
Yeah, I think so.
It wasn't just last night. He's been doing this the entire season, and that's why the Warriors are up 3-0 against the Pelicans. That's why they're the number 1 seed in the strong Western Conference, where you have really all 8 teams that you think could make a run at the NBA Finals. That's why they're the favorites out there, and really, he has done such a sensational job, and last night was just another piece of it, and that shows you the toughness and the grit that both he and his Warrior teammates have.
It is, and I tweeted out last night, I'm like, look, folks, if you haven't accepted that he's the MVP yet, then just look no further than tonight. That is kind of Stephen Curry's season in a nutshell. When there's been they needed a big basket, he's just delivered it. It's just been money perform. When he hits these shots, it's not like, he finds space. He creates space on his own. But, here, he's just contested. This is not an easy shot. It's just incredible. Even in the overtime, again, he hits another big one. And Klay Thompson, his counterpart, kind of does the same type of thing. But, Ian, when you look at the Warriors, for me, I think it's exactly what basketball needs, because they're fun, they're young, they're unselfish, it's a good group, you can get behind them. Stephen Curry is cool, he's fun to watch. There's really not a lot, it's easy to love this team.
Yeah, and Joe, going back to the MVP point, you have the best player on the best team.
No question.
There's really nothing that you can say that can top that. He's the best player. This year, he's the best player. Warriors are the best team. He carried the team. When you look at that, there's really no way that you can make an argument for someone else as MVP. So, but Joe, I think you are absolutely right that the way that the Warriors are playing now, and just the way the organization has been built up, and riding behind Curry and Thompson and the young guns, they're finally showing that hey, this is the new age of basketball. No more Kobe versus LeBron. No more Kobe versus Durant. It's us. You got to talk about us, and they're doing a great job at it.
There's no question about it. Well, King James also had a statement to make last night. And look, Boston, Ian, when I look at Boston, it's kind of like, look, they play hard. I think they're coached real well. Brad Stevens does such a good job coaching that team. And I definitely think that, they exceed based on the talent that they have. And it's close. Cleveland really has to work for everything that they have. But the biggest thing, Stephen Curry making big shots, Big Shot Rob making big shots, Kevin Love, Ian, I have been waiting months, basically since the start of the season, for Kevin Love to make a timely three-pointer. He made 2 of them last night. Are you kind of thinking right now Kevin Love is kind of starting to redeem himself after, let's be honest, what's been a pretty disappointing season?
Well, when everyone was getting on Kevin Love all season long that he wasn't producing, it was LeBron and Kyrie, and it was a big 2, and then Love was just a role player. I was saying to myself, okay, yeah, at this point, sure, Love hasn't produced. Love hasn't lived up to the hype from his Minnesota days. But I'm thinking, this guy is an all-star. This guy had that outstanding streak of double-doubles a few years ago. This guy can put up 20 nights every single night. Just wait, just calm down. He needs to find his role, and he's finally gelled in that, and you see the results of that. And you know what? Come playoff time, when you have an NBA all-star finding his role and excelling in it, that's a scary prospect when you put that with Kyrie and LeBron.
There's no question. When I look at Cleveland, I think this is a great first-round matchup because Chicago, too, with Milwaukee, I think the thing is, even when Miami with LeBron, when they played Milwaukee, a couple years back, that really wasn't a big test. Even Charlotte wasn't the greatest. These teams give you that effort. They give you that defensive commitment. They play smart. You've got to work. You're not handed anything. I think it really helps continue that momentum, sets that right tempo moving on. Because Chicago, as we saw last night too, really gutting it out. Derrick Rose really showing good flashes. Both Chicago and Cleveland are really working, and they've really earned that 3-0 lead. It's a deceiving 3-0 lead because they really have struggled at points and they fought very hard. But I think, Ian, we all kind of agree. Chicago, Cleveland, I think we can look forward and just kind of bubble that in now. It's going to happen. That, to me, is the Eastern Conference Finals. Not going to be whoever moves on from that will probably get to the finals. But I think right now, Chicago and Cleveland is going to be on a caliber level of Eastern Conference Finals.
Absolutely. I think that it's going to be very similar to 2011 Eastern Conference Finals, Bulls versus Heat.
Yes.
So Derrick Rose and the Chicago Bulls against LeBron James's team. And Joe, I think you're absolutely right that the Eastern Conference champion is coming out of that matchup, and it will be those two teams matching up. But I think just going back to your point about how the first round matchups are ideal for the Bulls and the Cavs right now, being against the Bucks and the Nets, in that they're tough matchups, but at no point are you afraid that the teams are going to lose.
Yes.
Because it's not like back out west where you have the Clippers and the Spurs, where that series is going to go either way. Either team is going to win that series, and it's going to be a battle every single game. With this series, it's a tune-up, making sure you're in playoff form. You know how to. You know what you're going to do in a late game, tight game situation, but you also know that you're going to come out ahead, and that confidence that you're going to get from that is going to be huge down the stretch when they do meet up in the next round.
There's no question about it, and I think you hit the nail on the head. You're not afraid you're going to lose, but at the same time, you've got to give all that effort. You've got to play really hard. You can't take any plays off. I think that really sets a good momentum. But you know who has some momentum too, Ian? Your San Antonio Spurs, who are playing tonight against the Clippers. Just a massive win the other day. I think after the first game where the Clippers won, everybody was kind of either going a little overboard on the Clippers, or they kind of expected, look, it's the Spurs. They feel you out. They'll be fine. Right now, Ian, I picked the Spurs to get to the NBA Finals, so I think they get out of the series. And especially for me, what impressed me the most, I mean, you have no Tony Parker and no Ginobili towards the end of that game in the last 3 minutes. Now, the Clippers did have a couple plays where they kind of gave it away, but I think at the same time, you've got to be impressed with the Spurs. I mean, I never, ever, ever count them out.
No, you can never count the Spurs out. And Joe, you said, they were doing it without their stars. But think about it this way. The Clippers have home court.
Yes.
So the Spurs, to steal home court, have to win one of the first two games in Los Angeles. They did that. Right now, the Spurs have home court.
Yes.
3 of the next 4 games are going to be in San Antonio. If the Spurs take care of home court, they win in 6. No big deal, and that's with losing game 1. So really, the Spurs are in good position with splitting the first 2. Everyone was going overboard. Oh, wow, the defending champion Spurs lose their first playoff game. Big deal. They're on the road. They should win that. It doesn't matter where they play. They're going to do what they do. And that you saw that in game 2. And now coming home, game 3, they're going to be ready to go. They are going to be fired up. And I think, it's going to be great. I mean, just, look at, let's say, go back 2012 NBA Finals, Oklahoma City and Miami. The Thunder won game 1.
He took game 2, never looked back.
He took game 2, never looked back. 1-5.
It's funny.
So and we're talking about an NBA championship caliber team in Miami there, and in San Antonio, the defending NBA champions, who a lot of people think have a very good chance at getting back there, even as a 6th seed.
No, yeah.
So when you think about it that way, that one loss could catapult the Spurs. They could win the next 4 here and even sweep the next series, and then it's like, yeah, remember when everyone was dooming them after the game 1 loss to the Clippers? So with sports, everyone blows everything up, and you just have to sit back, wait, and watch, and then you can make opinions.
Absolutely. And you know what I like? The reason I like the Spurs the most in this series is because of the mental composure. The Clippers, the one thing they absolutely do not have is when things start not going their way, their mental composure is awful. I mean, Chris Paul, look, I love him. He's a great player, but he has his hissy fits on the court. DeAndre Jordan, when things don't go well. Matt Barnes does not. I mean, they don't have the mental composure. When things start going against them, they get calls going again the other way. They really just kind of break apart. And that's the one thing the Spurs will never do. They will never break down. They are as composed, cool, calm, and collected. For that main reason alone, I think they get it done. And I think, like you said, they're in perfect shape. Getting that game 2 win is huge. Now they go home. I think they're in business right now, Ian. And the next one, though, in the Western Conference, the Rockets and the Mavericks. Look, there's I think we can't get it to this point. The Mavericks, things are kind of unraveling with what's happened with Rondo. Parsons is going to be out. But Ian, I want to get your take on Rondo because I've always been very vocal. I've never been a fan of the guy. I think at the end of the day, he's shown you, look, when you can't get along with Doc Rivers and Rick Carlisle, both of those guys with championship pedigrees under their belts, that's all I really need to know. If you can't get along with a championship coach, I'm not siding with you.
I like Rondo, but I also see his attitude. And I'm not a fan of his attitude. And I think that's his downfall, and that's why he was rooted out of Boston. And it wasn't where he was the best player by far left for Brad Stevens.
He was. By far.
And the fact that the Celtics dealt him gives you an idea that they didn't want to put up with him anymore.
Yeah.
So that really tells you something. And another thing that, looking back in hindsight, I think around 2010, when the Celtics made their run back to the NBA Finals and lost to the Lakers, I think it came out that the big three of Garnett, Pierce, and Allen went to Rondo and said to him, "We're going to go as far as you take us." Meaning that, they're putting their faith in Rondo, and however good he's going to be, because he's going to make them better. And I was thinking, okay, basketball-wise, he's the young gun there. He's the up-and-coming player. They're on the backside of their career and really, not carrying the team anymore. And so that's all I thought of it then. But thinking about it now, I think the reason they said that was not so much basketball wise, but saying, look, your mentality, your attitude is going to set the tone. If you're going to be a team player, if you're going to be able to play with us and be all in and buy into what we want to do, then we're going to be a great team because your basketball talent is great. But if you're going to be an inappropriate player and not buy into the rest of the team, then we're going to struggle.
I'm with you. And the biggest thing for me that just really tells me all I need to know is Rick Carlisle, Bradley Stevens, and Doc Rivers. Those are all three really bright dudes. If Rondo can't make it work with them, I don't know where it's going to work. Look, somebody's going to give him money this offseason. He won't be back with the Mavericks, and I don't know who it's going to be, but I'm not buying it. But, Ian, let's go to our last series before we go to a break. Toronto and Washington. Washington has the 2-0 lead. John Wall really setting the tone in their last one, 17 assists. Do you think look, they took both these games on the road. Now they're at home. Is there really any turning back for Washington at this point?
Yeah, I'm surprised at the way this series is going. I really thought that this would be the best
7 games.
Yeah, at least 5 or 6 competitive
I thought
games.
so too.
And maybe even 7. I thought this was by far the best opening round series in the Eastern Conference.
Definitely.
And I think maybe you see that in that Washington took the 2 games on the road, whereas all the other teams, the higher seeds, blew the lower seed out at home. So I really think that shows you that this is the best Eastern Conference opening round series. But I think that you can draw that to last year. When you look at how these teams did in the playoffs, both of them were in the playoffs last year. The Raptors were the 3 seed and lost in the first round to the Nets. And the Wizards were going up against the Bulls in the 4-5 series. Looked like they're the underdog. They're the new guys. They don't know what they're doing. They won that series, went on to play Indiana, and took it to Indiana. They gave them a battle. When you look at what they did last year, it doesn't surprise me at all.
No, I think absolutely. Look, it's kind of funny because you expect both teams to kind of take that next leap forward. Obviously, Washington has. I think obviously bringing in Paul Pierce has been huge for them, that veteran mentality, his experience. In Toronto, looks like right now, look, it's been a little disappointing, but I'm with you. I think Washington is in prime position right now, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in that next round because for me, Ian, I don't know. I just still don't have that belief in the Hawks. I love them. They're like a miniature San Antonio Spurs. But my mentality is the NBA playoffs, it's all about star power. And they have good players, but I wouldn't put any of them at the level of stars, which you really need to win at this level of the NBA season.
No, and I actually think that the Wizards stand a very good chance against the Hawks, and I can see the Wizards taking that next step. Last year, they get into the playoffs, they win their opening round series, and then when they played Indiana, they gave them a battle. But
and
then
they should have beat Indiana too.
But then it fell apart for them. But I think that this year they take that next leap. They get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I could very well see that. And Joe, you mentioned it, and I have to bring him up. My guy, one of my 2 or 3 favorite players of all time, Paul Pierce. Loved him in Boston. Sad to see him leave there, go to the Nets. I like the Nets because he was there. Now with Washington, I want to see him do well. I want to see him continue to play in the playoffs. And so because of that, go Washington.
You heard it from the man himself, Ian Sachs. I'm looking on Twitter right now. Where is Big Shot Rob? Is now trending worldwide thanks to Chelsea Harris. Well, we're going to wrap it up for this segment, Ian. Going about 20 minutes strong with NBA talk. We'll be back talking, who knows, it could be Big Shot Rob. It could be anything. It's a big world out there, folks, so stay with us, and we will be right back.